Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Welcome, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. If you haven't been with us on our show before, we always like to start our first segment by talking to you about what it means to be a warrior, in which case I give you the definition that a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or a fighter. And I feel like unless you are in the military or otherwise considered some form of active duty officer, you may not recognize yourself as a soldier. And sometimes when life is overwhelming, we may not recognize ourselves as brave. However, if you're experienced at all, which I find it hard to get through life without finding some form of experience, and you are a fighter, which means you've had to overcome some of those experiences, you get to be a warrior. And when you're a warrior, what that should do is give you the confidence that if you have to take something on, you're capable of doing that. You're capable of battling that situation. And we always like to talk every week to give you some hope that there are other people that are not only dealing with the same thing that you may be dealing with or something similar, or potentially worse than you, not to take away from your situation, but just to say that we all have things to overcome. We're all in this together. You are not alone. And sometimes it's good just to know that someone is already doing or dealing with what you are, or that you can have hope in knowing that someone has overcome what you're dealing with. And so we always like to use an example. And when I write these shows, Debbie usually doesn't know what we're going to talk about. It's pretty amazing. I just fire stuff at her and she's so smart it comes off the top of her head. So surprise, Debbie, this segment is actually about you.
Oh boy.
And what I want to say is a lot of people see Debbie, it's so fascinating, as this like impenetrable fortress of strength. And it cracks me up because you constantly hear the word like robotic or not human or inhuman or just insane or all of these things. And I think it's easy, even as her husband, at times to forget that she actually is human. And to take away from that is actually kind of a discredit. And what I mean by that is if you're going to say she's strong or that you aspire to be like her or she's impressive or something like that, that makes sense. But to say robotic or, inhuman, it kind of takes away from the fact that she actually is working just as hard and sometimes harder than we are to get to where she gets to. And I'm going to have her talk a little bit about it. But last year, she decided to do 75 Hard, Andy Frizilla's program from his company, which is
First Form.
And I always want to call it Supplement Superstore because that's where he started. But
I guess he has all those.
Does he still have those? Okay. So
like
First Form is like his product line, and it's amazing. He's a local guy, and he's just blown up across the world, really, with his product line. But he created something called 75 Hard. It's a free program, and what it does is it challenges you to be a better person. It's not just about exercise. It's not just about food. It's about being better. And Debbie asked me to do it with her. She actually asked if we would do it as a family, and I ultimately did not do it, and I drug my feet on getting started. So Debbie just started and she completed it and I still did not do it. And I am not an undisciplined person. So like, don't get twisted and think like, oh, okay, well, you're just not doing something. I'm a disciplined man, but this is what I'm talking about. She went next level. So she completed that. And then she decided, well, I don't really want to be done with it. So she just continued to do the things that 75 Hard promotes. And then she created a program that she's challenging people to do online through our social media and our clients called The Extra Mile. And what The Extra Mile is it's push-ups, sit-ups, lunges, and squats.
Dips.
And
a plank hold.
And it's done every day regardless of your workout. So whether it's a workout day, an off day, you do this every day. And how many days have you been doing that?
I don't even know.
You don't even know.
Since May.
A long time.
Since May.
Since
Yeah.
May.
I don't know
Okay,
if I
so
ever counted.
May is over half a year ago.
Right.
And she's done it every day. She's done it when she's sick. She's done it when she has a migraine. She's done it when she's tired. She's done it when everybody else may say, well, that's just robotic to do it. And it's impressive. I mean, it's simply impressive. It's impressive to watch. And there was an era in my life early on in a relationship where I wasn't used to being outworked. Everywhere I ever worked, I was in management at a very young age. GameStop actually had to create a new written policy for me to be a manager because I was the youngest one that was ever promoted. I was good at law enforcement. I would handle scenes on my own. I was used to being the hardest worker, and I wasn't with Debbie. She outworks me. She outruns me. She outlifts me. It's like she's that driven. She's that motivated. And I actually got mad about it early in our relationship. I really struggled with it. I felt like the lesser spouse. I felt like the lesser
That was a fun time.
business partner. Yeah, it was a fun time. This is the point I want to make. You guys listen up.
I tell jokes.
I do this for a living, and I failed my spouse for a while because I actually was reflecting my own insecurities and lack of belief in myself on my spouse. So if your spouse is doing something, or your family or your friends is doing something to better themselves, and you find yourself challenging them on that, you might want to take a look inside, because you might not be those people's person for very long. Thank God Debbie stuck it out with me and wasn't like, you are a jerk, because I came around. And now we're going to do a segment as we go through here about how great she is with what she does. So Deb, talk a little bit about, like, when you're driven and these people say you're a robot, like, how do you do it? What gets you through it? What makes you say, no, I'm going to do what I need to do, even though I have a migraine, even though I'm tired, even though I don't have enough hours in the day?
Well, because I'm a warrior, right?
Right. That's the whole thing. But see, what's crazy is it kind of is that simple. It's not easy. This is where people get confused.
I gave myself an option to not do it.
It's not easy. Like, everybody thinks like, oh, well, that's super difficult. Like, yes, but
Yes.
the concept is not difficult to understand. You just have to do it.
Right.
And what you'll find is the more you
Nike was
just
on
do
top
it,
of it,
Nike
yeah.
was on top of that. I used to hate that.
I know.
When I was younger, like, just
Right.
do it. Like, that's the stupidest
It
thing
just
I've ever
makes
heard.
so much sense.
And then as I got older, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
when you don't feel
See
like it, when you're not motivated, when you're
Exactly.
tired, you
Right.
just do it, right?
Right.
And so I think what I heard you say is, like, you don't give yourself an out.
Well, you have to keep the commitments to yourself. And I just learned a long time ago, when your health fails you and you 100% think you're going to die, and I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to,
Not an
I'm not
exaggeration.
trying to exaggerate it. It's a real situation. When you genuinely think that you're going to die, life changes. Like, you see life differently. You just have a different perspective. And although that was, almost 30 years ago now, I just have a mission. Like, every day of my life is it's a day worth living. And I guess I like excellence. I like being the best version of myself that I can be. I don't want to be weak. I don't want to make excuses. And I want to be happy with the person that I am. And if I don't keep the commitments that I make to myself, I'm never going to be happy. And I watch people project their insecurities on other people every day of their life. And their number one insecurity is the fact that they don't keep their commitments to themselves. I mean, they just don't. I mean, they're just not being real with themselves. And they're disappointed in themselves. They're disappointed in not holding themselves to a higher level.
Something that Ed Milet said in the Arete this last week that really resounded with me is, he said, have you ever cried when you're watching something? Like,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
good.
motivational. Like, you watch the movie Gladiator and you cry, or you watch someone do something on America's Got Talent. And I always think it's interesting when you're watching shows like America's Got Talent or The Voice, the audience is crying. And he said, we think we might be crying because we're happy for that person. But the reason you're actually crying, if you're someone that cries in those moments subconsciously, is because you know the strength and power that they're using to do what they're doing is inside of you, and you're not using it.
Right.
And so his point was, if you get that motivational, that driven, that split second where you're like, oh my gosh, like, and I get that with singing. I'll show Debbie these videos of people singing all day long, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost cry. And I had this moment where I was like, that's true. I'm actually watching someone do something so great. And when I really look inside of myself and I really listen to my wife tell me that she knows the man I'm capable of being, and I'm not quite there. I mean, that's not her words, that's mine. But, you know, that used to bother me. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, she's challenging me to be the better version of myself. Like, I've got a friend, his name's Josh Kahneman. He owns K-Build. And he says when he dies, he hopes he gets to heaven and meets the man that he was supposed to be. And it's a mirror of him. That's who you should want to be on a daily basis. The best person you can be. And when you cry like that, you might need to take a step back and say, what is inside of me that is so great that I'm not fulfilling?
Absolutely. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to you from our personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed meat, the only beef that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Just got done talking about what it means to be a warrior, and I was using Debbie as a great example. And now I want to talk about what I think separates Debbie. She talked a little bit about not giving herself a choice to do the things that she knows she needs to do. And I want to talk about what I see inside of her that is what keeps her going and makes her as strong as she is. And that's a discipline. Discipline is your own personal commitment to greatness. It is your commitment to being the best version of yourself, because without discipline, it's going to be really hard to continue to do the things you're supposed to do. It's always fascinating. I get clients that come into the gym and they say, man, I just wish I had your motivation to work out. And I have to tell them that my motivation to work out died 11 years ago after I lost 100 pounds and started feeling better. That was it. I haven't been motivated to lift other than maybe a time here and there where I feel really strong and it's like an exciting moment, or it's with somebody, or a time I get to spend with my wife working out. Like, outside of that, I don't want to work out any more than you do. The reason I work out is I'm disciplined for it. I know that I'm not going to be good enough to do the things I need to do without the discipline. I've got some Bible verses for you here. So whether you're a Christian or not, whether you believe in the Bible, this is sound advice, so don't tune this out. Hebrews 12:11, for the moment all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it.
Amen.
So think about that. You may be thinking like, this sucks. This discipline's painful. This doesn't feel good. But there's fruit on the other end of that. And whatever you're going through that you don't want to discipline yourself on, and I'm not just talking about health and wellness here, I'm talking about life. What's it giving you now? Are you not in pain? Are you not enjoying yourself now? Or are you in a situation where you're thinking you want change? What fruit's on the other end of that? I mean, this verse is saying that on the other end of discipline is righteousness. You're going to yield that. But like, what you're dealing with now, are you in a loop that's going to yield nothing? Like, isn't it worth trading pain that creates righteousness over pain that creates nothing?
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. It's like you suffer the pain of discipline or you suffer the pain of regret, right?
Right.
I mean, I think that's the choice. I just have never, I don't know. I don't like regrets. And we all have them. We all have times in our life where we wish we would have, maybe done something a little bit different.
I think that's strength. I think strength is having a regret, but doing something better in spite of it, right?
I think it's just wisdom. I think you're gaining wisdom from mistakes. I think you're gaining wisdom from experience and learning how to take corners a little differently and just doing things a little bit differently.
Are you reading my notes?
I mean, but honest, no, I wasn't. But honestly, it just, I personally have just always been the type of person that I just don't want to have regrets. If I have them, I have them, and if and then I get past them. But I put a plan in place to get past them. So I really try to create a scenario to where it's like, okay, what's the setup? How can I set up a different scenario to where I'm not going to encounter this again? If I had this response in my body, or if I had this type of a reaction, what are the things that I can do to keep myself, if it was because I ate out, we don't go to that place again, or I order it differently and really stress and explain what I need so that I can be healthy. If it's because of something that I did at home, maybe, I should have gone ahead and made it a little bit differently. We just learn from it. We learn and grow from it. If I'm not sleeping as well as I should, or if I'm not, committing time to my wellness as well as I should, I just have to learn from that. I have to grow from that. I have to sit down and go back to the drawing board, look at my schedule, and try to figure out how to get it worked back in. We've recently been spending more time doing things on Sunday mornings before church, and so I haven't been going to Palm Health on Sunday mornings. I noticed the difference. I noticed that one day of not getting cryo, the mats, the salt room, I noticed a difference. I'd like to figure out a way to where I can get back to going there in the morning, meeting them at church, and then we do all of our things after church, that type of thing.
Well, Proverbs 12:1 on your point says, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. And so that's going to be a newer version, newer interpretation. And I used it because I think the word stupid's kind of a shock. And it's like, oh, come on now. But I want you to think about that. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge. And what's the opposite of loving knowledge? The opposite of loving knowledge is being stuck where you are. And so to Debbie's point, what you should do anytime you do fall on your face or you do fall flat is acknowledge that there is something that needs to change, a knowledge that needs to be learned to not allow that specific thing to happen again. And I hear so many multi-millionaire, 100-millionaire, billionaires say, if you're not failing, you're not succeeding, because you do have to fail to move forward, to learn from your mistakes. And nobody who has ever been considered the most successful, that top 1%, hasn't failed. In fact, they usually have failed more than the people who aren't unsuccessful.
And you also have to just be willing to be humble. I mean, you got to humble yourself to first of all, you got to humble yourself to your own flesh, because your flesh is going to speak louder than your faith in some cases. So you gotta be humble, and you gotta say, I don't serve my flesh. I serve my faith. And when I like that scripture, there are going to be some people that don't like to be told what to do. They know deep down they need to be disciplined, but they don't want to be told they need to be disciplined.
Correct.
They don't want to be told that they need to
Who does?
that they need to work out. They don't want to be told that they need to clean up their diet. But at the end of the day, and I will tell you, I just heard Andy Frisella talk about this, and I've heard Ed Millett talk about this, and he said, if someone is trying to tell you that, they are telling you that because they care. No one is ever going to say, hey, man, why don't you get your workout in today? You know how much better you feel after that workout. Or why don't you try cleaning up your food? I tried this plan. I tried that plan. It really helped me. It's because they care enough about you. If they didn't care about you, they would eat a donut with you. They would buy you the donuts. They would buy you the sugar-packed coffee.
Yes.
So, at the end of the day, it's an insecurity when someone is rebuking the discipline because they control. But what are you in control of? You're in control of being out of control.
Yeah, you're really in control of nothing.
And deep down, you're out of control. And deep down, you need the help to get back in line with being in control of your own health, of your own path to being a better person and just feeling better each day. For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with us at Integrity, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com, or for a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Talking a lot about discipline today. In fact, that's kind of what I intend to talk about the whole day. So I really hope it helps you. We are still in January right now. We got a lot of New Year's resolutions that I know were set this year. Have you started on them? You know, I just want to really challenge you to really get after whatever it is you made a commitment to yourself you were going to do. And Debbie actually was talking about Ed Milet and Andy Frisella right before we went to break, saying if somebody is asking you about something that feels disciplinary, it actually means they're caring. They care about you. So if it's someone who's like, oh, come on, did you get your workout in? What are you doing? Or man, you really think you should eat that? They're not saying that because it's good for them. I mean, in fact, what does it do? It usually creates conflict. And so who really, I mean, short of a jerk, which you're probably not hanging out with them, who really wants to create conflict? And, a verse that I love from the Bible, again, whether you're into the Bible or not, just listen to some of these truths. Revelations 3:19, this is Jesus speaking, those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. And then I can't even read my own writing here because I don't have my glasses on. Okay. So it says, earnest and repent. So those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. And then it says to repent of the actions that you've taken. So if you think about this, if he didn't love us, he wouldn't rebuke us and discipline us because he would just let us burn ourselves down. So if you've got someone who's telling you hey, I know you want to be healthy. Do you really think you should eat that cake? You actually have told me that. I'm not just trying to make you feel bad. This is something that you've said. Do you really think you should do that? Or you've been talking about how anxious you are. Do you really think that you should eat something that could be anxiety riddled? Or let's take it away from food. Let's take it away from fitness. You told me you really want a promotion at work. Should you really be going in late? You are rushing around right now and you're 5 minutes late every day. Are they really going to consider you for promotion? People that talk to you in such a way that you feel disciplined by them are trying to help you. I have a friend that is a business owner and he is very financially wealthy. And a lot of times he talks to me about my business and I get uncomfortable. And the uncomfortability is my lack of knowledge on the things that he's asking me. It doesn't mean that I have to follow exactly what he's telling me to do. We're in completely different businesses. But what he is asking me is things that I should have answers to, and I don't. And so it challenges me to be better at what I do. I could get mad at him and tell him I don't want to talk about it. But at the end of the day, I acknowledge that if I don't have that knowledge, I'm not going to be the type of businessman I want to be. And that's what he says. He's like, look, if you're happy where you are, then be there. But you tell me you want a house in Florida. You tell me you want to be able to help more people. You tell me you want a larger facility. These are the ways that you're going to get to that. And so if someone's coming at you like that, it really means they care about you.
That's exactly right. And also for a coach, when you're thinking about hiring a coach.
Yes.
I mean, over the Christmas holiday, we had a dinner. We basically had a dinner every week for even New Year's for 5 weeks. And I didn't eat anything bad. I mean, I can't with the autoimmune disease, but I had more Brussels sprouts and more baked apples and more baked carrots. And they were all so delicious, and mashed sweet potatoes and just all these things. I put on 4 pounds in a 6-week period of time.
And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're on a little body and you worked really hard to get those 4 pounds off, it kind of feels like a lot. And so I went right back into my zone. And my coach said, I told him I was down a pound, and my coach said, yeah, it's pretty amazing what happens when you actually stick with the program and do what you're supposed to do, right? I mean, he checked me on that. That's his version. That's how he talks. That's how he jokes. He's a jokester. But I know where he's coming from on it because I've known him for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying somebody and they're constantly just telling you, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Balance,
and
moderation.
Moderation. You're
if
doing the
you
90-10.
Are clean, if you're clean 80% of the time or 90% of the time, it's okay.
Because who measures that? I mean, if you think about being clean 90% of the time, that means 9 out of 10 times you do what you're supposed to do. So I love talking these statistics. If you're talking 9 out of 10, that would mean in a 30-day month, you only have 3 days that you don't do what you're supposed to do. Is that what you're talking about? Or when you say 90-10, are you there? Or are you saying you're off every Saturday, Sunday? That's not 90-10. Are you saying you eat one thing a day? That's not 90-10. But we tell ourselves this. We lie to ourselves. You're giving yourself an A and you might be getting a D.
Right.
You know, and so it's like you really have to check that. And something I want to continue with is when you love somebody and you care about them, you know, coaches that you're paying, they should care about you just as much as they care about the success of their company. It can be both. They're not mutually exclusive. If you come to me, I will tell you what you need to do and I will ensure you do it, because what would be the point of me being there? Like, I care about accomplishing what you set out to have accomplished because A, that's what my business should stand for, and B, that's what you came to me for. I'm not stealing your money.
I have probably 5 clients that I can tell you over the past 20 years, and we could have them on the radio show, and they will tell you about a coming to Jesus moment, and they will say it, and they will be very quiet, and they'll start to get very serious, and they might even be brought to tears if we interviewed them, and they'll say, I had a coming to Jesus moment with Debbie. And it was a moment where Debbie was about ready to cry and I was about ready to cry. And Debbie basically put my back up against the wall and said, where are we going with this?
Right.
What are you doing? Are we going to do this? Are you going to die from this?
Yeah, and I think you could also pull probably even more clients than that have left and badmouthed you for the same thing, where they've left and they've said, like, oh, well, you know, I just want to be able to do what I want on the weekends. I just want to be able to, you know, have something every day. I deserve to have this. And it's like, no, you hired somebody to be in the trenches with you. She's not going to let you get shot. You hired someone to go to war with you. She's not going to let you throw yourself in on a grenade. She's actually there to take those shots for you and to make sure that you stay true to yourself, because you've come in and you've said you want to get off diabetes medication, but you're slamming brownies every day. You've come in and you've said you're tired of the inflammatory pain in your body, but you're eating sweet tarts. You know, I can go on and on for these examples. And ultimately, the people that leave, they are continually chasing, wanting something that they know they want, but being unwilling to give up what they know they need to give up. And that's an internal issue. But people don't want to be the villain of their own story. So they're going to throw shade at their coach. We have a Cookie Monster picture at the gym that Cookie Monster has like 900 cookies all over him. He's laying in bed and he says, OMG, I can't lose weight. It must be my trainer's fault. And it's like Adolf Hitler thought he was a good guy. Like, he didn't believe that he was this terrible person. Nobody believes they're terrible. They believe in their mission. And think about it. If Hitler had won the war, stories would be told a lot different now. History would be shown a lot different. And a lot of war books and war, you know, things that I've read talk about that the good guy is the one that wins because they're the one who writes the books. So nobody wants to be their own villain, and they have to either accept that they're not doing something they're supposed to do, or they have to villainize somebody. And on the point of talking about loving someone enough to tell them the hard truths, I implement this with my daughter, and Debbie does the same thing. We are very disciplinary with our daughter, and that doesn't mean we're mean to her. We're not mean. It just means ever since she was little, we stand firm on the truths that we believe in. And she has told multiple people, not just us, not that just people that she knows she knows that will come back to us and say this. She's told teachers, she's told people she didn't even know we talked to, that she appreciates when we correct her on things because it teaches her the things that she knows she's supposed to be doing. She's also told people that she knows that we do it because we're trying to create the greatest version of her that she's capable of being. And she knows these things because we've told her. We don't just yell at her. We don't scream at her from the other room and sit her down in a chair and not explain it. We go over everything with her and explain to her why we do the things we do. And I just want to put this out there. Another verse from the Bible, Proverbs 13:24. Whoever spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him. Check that out. The reason you're not disciplining your kid and you're saying, oh, I don't want them to be upset. Like it wasn't that bad. They don't deserve that. I got a hard truth for you. That's for you. You might think you're doing your kid a solid, but 20 years from now, when they're not doing something right, 20 years from now, when they're struggling, you're going to have something to do with that. Now, don't get me wrong. You might be a perfect parent and your kids still go off and do something wrong. But then it's their decision. You did what you could do. But you're setting yourself up. If you're saying, I'm too tired, I don't feel like doing that, I don't want to deal with it. I know it's not easy. We have 50% custody of my daughter. She's from a previous marriage. We only get to see her half the time. And sometimes I come home from work and I'm going to have 30 minutes with her for that day. But she's done something wrong. And I would be doing her a disservice to not take the time and talk to her about it. That would be for me. I just want to spend the time with my daughter. And she doesn't get to grow up and be the person she's supposed to be. So instead of being your kid's best friend right now, be your kid's parent because that's who you're supposed to be. And then when they grow up, then you can be their friend.
And saying that my kid won't eat that, that's for you too, just so you know. Because yes, my daughter doesn't like cantaloupe and she didn't like mushrooms as a small child. And do you really think broccoli was her favorite food? No, but I put a little garlic on it, a little lemon on it, a lot of olive oil on it, and she ended up liking the broccoli. But we didn't give up on the broccoli. We didn't just say, well, she doesn't like broccoli. Oh, she throws a fit when she has broccoli. No, she ate what we told her to eat, period. And we weren't afraid we weren't worried about what was going to happen. At the end of the day, if you say the only thing my kid will eat is this, you made that. You created that.
You also are the one that gave it to him.
Right. So at the end of the day, that's partially because of you. So change it. Change it today.
Yeah, change it.
Go through the trenches with them.
Change it now. I'll give you one more verse right before we go to break here. Timothy 1:7. I'm sorry. This is the wrong one. Let me flip the page here. Proverbs 19:18. Discipline your children, for in that there is hope. Do not be a willing party to their death.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're saying, you go ahead and have that, what you're doing is setting them up for future problems. And the earlier you get on top of things, the higher level of success you start to guarantee yourself to have, or at least create a situation to be able to have. Because if they start failing young, they start failing now, that's a precedence that they'll start to accept.
It's also, it's impacting their behavior. It's impacting who they are becoming, the way they can think through things, their attitude towards life, their zest, their inspiration, their motivation. It's all impacted by the way you're feeding them. So make it a priority. You'll change their life because of it. For more information on a 6-month nutrition program at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytraining.com, or to schedule a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to you from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3, talking to you a lot today about discipline. As we are in the beginning of the new year, we are still in the month of January. I want you to think it's not too late to start the things that you said you were going to start December 28th. You know, the things that you said were your New Year's resolutions, the things that maybe you wrote down and already crumpled up the paper and threw away. Discipline is the way. Discipline is the way to get yourself there. And if you wrote down resolutions or you thought resolutions and you did not write down the way you were going to make those things have precedence, the way you were going to put down an action plan to get those things done, that's going to set you up to not succeed. That's going to set you up to have the same resolution in 2026 that you had in 2025. And I've been pulling a lot from the Bible today, and I'm going to continue to do that. And I want to talk a little bit about what Debbie and I do for a living, and what we feel on our heart is our call and purpose. Our ministry is to get you healthy and well, get your body capable of fighting the mind, body, spirit side of things that happen in this world, because it really does take all three of those to fight. You know, read a book, get into some motivational stuff for your mind, come to us, get your body right, go to church, get your spirit right. In 1 Corinthians 9:27 says, "But I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified." I mean, what are you telling people to do? And you need to pull the plank out of your eye before you go after the sawdust in theirs. You know, if you've got a friend, a family member, someone in your life that's doing heroin, and you're trying to tell them to quit doing heroin, but you're slamming candy and drinks and all of this garbage food and 100 pounds overweight, and you're literally reeling yourself toward a heart attack, diabetes, or any other type of disease. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that it's better than heroin, but I'm saying it's pretty close. You know, if you Google the amount of people that die annually from heroin versus the amount of people that die annually from food-related diseases, you might be shocked to know that heroin is not number one. Now, I get it. Not everybody does heroin, but everybody does eat. But not everybody does eat poorly. And so those deaths that are being related to food, like, those are just as preventative as the overdoses from heroin. So this is an example of what I'm saying. If you're not disciplined in your own body, if you're not disciplined in yourself, like, do you really feel you should be trying to tell someone else what to do? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you think they're not looking at you and saying, well, you've got something you need to be doing too, you're absolutely wrong. And that's not just an internal projection. It may be one that they don't want to acknowledge they have a problem and quit, but it may also be that you need to take a look at yourself before you try to get off on someone else.
I struggle with that a little bit. And it's something that I don't know, I guess I've had to work with God on, but when I see someone that's trying to lead me, I care that they take care of themselves. Yes. I care that, I look at a pastor and I say, are you in shape? Do you take care of your health? Do you make your health a priority? You're trying to lead me down a path to godliness, and you're leading an entire church. I want to feel like you're disciplined enough that you actually take care of your health. You make it a priority. If you're my doctor and you're trying to tell me a path that I should follow, I should be able to look at you and know that you follow that path.
Yes.
This does not mean that you have to be chiseled.
Correct.
This does not mean you have to be a competitive bodybuilder.
Yeah, I mean, I
this
think,
just means you have to look like you're taking care of yourself.
Right. Like, you could even say there's been times in your life with your autoimmune condition,
nothing I could do about it.
Question you like, oh man, I thought maybe you were just a little heavy, and it's like,
thought I was eating donuts.
Yeah, it's like, no, yeah. I was sick. So that's not what she's saying. She's not just talking about your physical appearance. She's talking about what you're doing. You know, if you're not trying to take care of yourself, if you're not trying to lock that in, that's a difficult thing to try to follow someone on. Because then you start to question, are they actually doing the other things they're telling me to do?
It's a trickle-down effect.
And Proverbs 25:28 says, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls.
Exactly.
And so if you're putting yourself in a position where you're opening up your body, it starts to open up your mind and your spirit. I mean, can anybody ever say that you've never felt bad enough that you don't actually do something you're supposed to be doing? And, our pastor, he actually said something pretty fascinating at one point. He was pretty into drugs when he was younger. He talks about hallucinogenics and things like that. And he said that he got into hallucinogenics and he had like a really, really bad trip in a really bad situation. And what he basically said, without getting super in depth about it, is he goes, when you get into things like that, you open yourself up to things in the spirit world and things around you that you do not want to have in your life. And so I think that's the point, is if you're spending your time out of control of your body, now that's an extreme example, but if you're spending your time out of control in your body, what is in control?
Right.
And if your spirit isn't controlling you and your physicality is controlling you, or the flesh is of this world, what is in control? Have you actually opened the gates? Have you allowed a Trojan horse in? Do you even have walls anymore? You know, you might be telling yourself you do. You might be telling yourself you're guarded all the way to the hospital when you have a heart attack. That's what happened to me. I was supposed to be this big, tough dude that could battle anything. Well, guess what? I lost that fight.
Right.
And so what are you dealing with right now that ultimately could be leading to you? And I'm talking little things, because the devil is in the details. The little things. Like, what are you doing right now that you could acknowledge, oh my gosh, that's actually giving something else control of me, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or sweet tarts?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go back from a relationship perspective. When I first started dating John, I mean, he was losing 100 pounds, like through the process of being his friend.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I knew of him. So I was falling in love with him with 100 pounds on him. Okay, because of who he was, but let me also say, because of his drive, because of his work ethic, because of his commitment, because of his willingness to get up and keep fighting and to keep doing what he needed to do. There have been times where John looked shredded. I mean, he looked phenomenal and wouldn't get out of bed, wasn't committed to things, was in a really poor place mindset. We've all been there. I felt the 100-pound overweight John was more attractive in my eyes than that John.
Right.
And he's so worried about how he's looking and what's going on. But I'm over here like, look, man, I'm attracted to the drive.
So I'm
attracted to the commitment. And so you will respect that portion of somebody.
Yes.
It'll be surprising how much you will respect them more because they have those qualities. Well, you want your kids to see those qualities in you. You want your employees to see those qualities. You want your spouse to see those qualities. So you're not only doing this for you, you're doing it for the others that are following you and the legacy that you're leaving.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to look better. You
know,
there's nothing
not at
wrong
all.
with that. Now, you don't want to obsess
over that.
Of course
you want to look better.
You don't want to obsess
absolutely.
over that. You don't want to get hung up and your only reason be your flesh. But, you know, Debbie makes a good point. You know, and one thing that she has told me, though, is she's like, you know, you do attach a lot of your success to your body. I mean, I've always been a strong dude since becoming an adult. I was a very sickly child, and that's a story for a whole nother time of having to overcome sickness. But I've always been a strong adult. And she's like, you really do equate a lot of your success and your strength mentally and spiritually to your physical strength. So go get strong. Like, what's stopping you? And it's kind of a Samson story. You know, it's like my strength that you see in my body is attached to my spirit, and they do kind of run hand in hand, and they kind of do for everybody. You know, it's like a trinity in the human body: mind, body, spirit. And if you're letting one be weak, I'm not talking about one being weak because you can't help it. I'm not talking about having a sickness. I'm not talking about your brain having damage like mine does. I'm talking about you letting one be weak. Then that's going to lead right into my last verse, which is Proverbs 15:32. Those who disregard discipline despise themselves, but the one who heeds correction earns understanding. So when you're sitting around thinking like, no, I deserve my cheat meal, no, I deserve my cheat day, you're only cheating on you. You're not cheating on your coach. You're not cheating on your nutrition. You're not cheating on your, you're cheating on your future. That's what you're doing. The future you is going to look back and say, man, I really wished I had given myself a little bit more. I really wish I'd worked a little bit harder. I don't know many people that talk about their friends, family, or even interviews that at the end of someone's life, they regret doing everything that they did. It's always regret about what's not done. And so when you're not giving yourself that opportunity, you're not giving yourself that ability, and you're putting yourself in a perpetual state of looping in a place that you don't want to be, don't put yourself on that deathbed thinking that. Get yourself right and get out there and accomplish what God's given you the ability to do.
For more information on a 6-month nutrition program at Integrity, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you for listening, and God bless.